Cardi B performed her famous song WAP at the Grammys. And a lot of conservatives and a lot of family people, I guess, were kind of shocked at the gratuitous nature of the performance. The ratings for the Grammys were down. The celebrities that were there were trying to act like it was this great and bold thing, but nobody really cared. In the end, you end up with culture war outrage from conservatives and I don't even want to say the left because I don't know who's actually defending Cardi B other than Cardi B's fans. But this may seem like the least important story. The fight escalates on Twitter between Candace Owens and Cardi B. Candace Owens says you got to do better. You've got young black girls that are watching you. It's an important point I agree with. I'm also not offended in the least bit by the performance for WAP. I do think the double standard in our culture is stupid. Like this Dr. Seuss book is racist. It's got to go. Or, Pepe Le Pew, he was, trying to hug, kiss that cat. Therefore, we got to get rid of it. But this one's fine. Okay, fine. It may seem like the least important story in the country right now. And yes, but what I'm going to be talking about in this segment is not the least important thing. You see, I do think there is there is something going on in the culture war that we should talk about, particularly with these lawsuits and the fake news. The story is basically that Cardi B posted a fake tweet about Candace Owens, her brother and her husband, defaming people who are not public figures. And Candace Owens is now threatening legal action. There's something really important to talk about here in that mainstream press just rolls with Cardi B, essentially. They hate Candace Owens. So even though Cardi B is posting absolutely fake information, the headlines are what Cardi B said about Candace Owens as spat escalates to legal threats, instead of the headline being Cardi B posts fake tweet smearing Candace Owens. It's an issue of this double standard in media. But the bigger picture here and the why I feel like talking about this, we're a silly people. We are. Not so much about these fights. I do think cultural conflict exists everywhere and these conversations and discussions can be healthy. I do think the culture war in some aspects can be healthy for this country. We're working through certain ideas. We have cultural conflict going back several, every decade there's some kind of fight every few years. But right now, the U.S. is embroiled in infighting. Talk about peaceful divorce, dissolution, cultural decay, of which I think we are undergoing at a rapid pace, and this is an example of it. Meanwhile, China is rapidly expanding. They're setting up, missile silos. They're building coal power plants. They're building new cities. And that's what Bill Maher was talking about the other day. We're a silly people, and they're very much a serious people. So let's do this. I want to show you all. Maybe there's some of you who don't care about any of that stuff, the military and foreign policy. But, give it a chance. And let me Trojan horse that idea in for you while talking about celebrity gossip. Well, again, I think this shows something interesting that we should talk about: defamation, fake news, and manipulation by those who would, disagree, those who are on the outside of the establishment. It also shows how we are very uninterested in the actual conflicts that will rip us apart. And if our focus just remains on these cultural feuds, well, then we're going to get undermined completely. But here's the story. Newsweek reports Cardi B and Candace Owens are feuding on Twitter again. But this time their spat has escalated to legal threats from both sides. The rapper's 2021 Grammy performance has sparked another war of words between the WAP hitmaker and the conservative pundit. In an appearance on Tucker Carlson Tonight Monday, Owens criticized Cardi's performance, saying it signifies the weakening of American society. Cardi then took to Twitter to thank Owens for giving her more views on Fox News. This appeared to incense Owens, who responded, "Just at me next time directly. You are a cancel sell to culture. Young black girls are having their minds poisoned by what you are trying to package and sell to them as empowerment." Now, I don't care if Cardi B wants to do what she does. I do, however, understand what Candace Owens is saying. We want people to be the best of the best of the best. I also think people have a right to be entertained by what they prefer. And if they want to watch the Grammys, so be it. But guess what? 53% rating drop. So I'm not going to sit here and complain. Cardi B can do what Cardi B wants to do. If she wants to perform, by all means, she can do it. And if they want to put her on TV, that's fine. Guess what? People didn't want to watch it. I wonder if one of the reasons people didn't want to watch Cardi B is because they got kids. And they're like, I don't want my kid watching that stuff. I got a lot of friends who got kids, and they talk about the problems of YouTube all day and night. So by all means, you do your thing. It's a relatively free market, not perfect, but fine. You'll just end up losing ratings and going out of business. Well, she continued, "I'm one of the few that has the courage to tell you the truth. You should thank me." From here, the argument got personal as the pair began to exchange increasingly sharp words with their combined millions of followers watching. Candace said, "Millions of young girls follow you. At your best, you are self-deprecating and humorous. At your worst, you are naked, shoving your privates into another one's privates while thrusting a topper. You were at your worst on the Grammy stage. Do better. I am Cardi B." In retaliation, Cardi shared a doctored tweet from Owens that was circulating on the platform last year, saying that Owens' husband cheated on her with her brother. Quote, "Not you talking about two women thrusting their privates together while your husband and brother slap, their privates together. Well, would you look at that? Now Cardi tweeted along with the Photoshop screenshots." I'm going to stop right here and just say this. That's a low blow, Cardi B. We don't need none of that homophobia up in here. You got an issue with someone in their personal lives, or someone in their, and you got an issue with Candace Owens because of her criticisms of you. This is a low blow, making derogatory comments about two men who may be in love. Now, the reality is it's not real. It's not a real tweet. This is what we get. This is what Newsweek wants to put out there. This is what Tim Pool. Can you imagine this moron on YouTube actually wasting time talking about this? That's actually how I feel, because I'm looking at the news and I'm like, people actually, look at this. Candace Owens. Look, Cardi B's got 58,000 likes on this, 13,000 replies. We definitely got to talk about this, because this is the kind of thing that, in my opinion, it shows that we're very silly. This is the thing we care about. I do believe there is some merit in having discussions about cultural issues and cultural decay. But man, what happened to that era where the U.S. was unified in up against an enemy? The Cold War, for instance. We certainly had political battles during the Cold War. We had civil rights and things like that. That's why I'm saying culture war stuff is a fine thing to talk about for the most part. The celebrity gossip angle of it, I roll my eyes at. But this is where we're at. Post a fake thing. It's clearly not real. Now there's going to be a lawsuit. Guys, we got to get focused on this stuff. This is a really good example. What Candace Owens is saying, I agree more with Candace Owens than I do Cardi B in her criticism. Though I'm more of a libertarian-minded individual, I don't care if Cardi B wants to do it. But there is something interesting in what's going on with this political battle and with the Grammys. And it's that with the ratings collapse and the shock content, there is no unified American culture. There is no focus on our actual adversaries, namely China and their rapid expansion. So we sit back and we're like, oh, Cardi B, smackdown. Meanwhile, most people are tuning out. They're turning it off. They're not paying attention. We're not having the same conversations anymore. Makes things really difficult. The people who are watching, you guys who are watching this video, there are probably a lot of other people that are watching other channels, progressive, conservative, moderate, etc., and they're not hearing about this. What happens when you then go to the water cooler and you talk about it and say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but the grains of sand make a heap. And eventually we have no shared conversation. We have disparate factions shattered across the country, and they unify online, creating pseudo communities and micro realities. Then the bigger picture, we're under threat by foreign adversaries, and you get a president like Joe Biden who's very deferential to China, whereas you had Trump who was very adversarial. And then you can just look at what China is doing. Right now, they're building more underground silos for ballistic missiles. The Pentagon is pushing for a bigger effort to deter China's growing military might. But we, my friends, we're a silly people. And so our focus is going to be on celebrity gossip. It's tough. It really is. Because when I was looking at researching this subject and when I was trying to figure out what I thought would be something important to talk about, I definitely saw the Cardi B stuff going on with Candace Owens. And I thought it was interesting because of the fake news, how they will push these lies and they'll get away with it. We're now learning that there's this huge scandal going on with a guy named Jordan. I don't think I can actually say his name on YouTube, so we'll call him Fuchs because his name is Fuchs. I don't think I can literally say his name because the algorithm, the AI on YouTube will read that as a swear, so I can't even say his name. But no offense to the guy, I'm not trying to be mean. But this guy apparently seeded a fake story to all of these different news outlets in order to make Trump look bad. And then when the actual recording came out and proved it was all wrong, what did we get? A lot of outlets refused to correct. They said, well, our framing is fine. The quotes weren't. And so instead of doing correction, we were wrong. Trump never said this. They said Trump still did say these things, but just not verbatim. That's where we're at. Here we go. Owens was quick to deny that she wrote the tweet and berated Cardi for sharing a photoshopped image and viciously attacked the rapper's own marital issues. She said, I am literally laughing out loud, Cardi, my dear. That is clearly a Photoshop tweet. Only one of us has a husband that sleeps around, Owens said, referring to reports that Cardi's husband, Offset, was caught cheating last year. Talk about just, you know what? I'm going to say this. Candace Owens, bravo, brilliantly played. Really, really brilliantly played. Cardi B is now pushing Candace Owens' message. Everybody saw Cardi B's message. Candace Owens stole that spotlight because Cardi B took the bait. Candace made a criticism. She's allowed to do it. It's her opinion. Cardi jumped on it. And now Cardi and Candace are creating this space on Twitter where both fans are now coming together in some kind of interaction. That's fantastic for Candace Owens. She's not on the Grammy stage. She's getting more press attention from many on the left. And many hate her, sure, but she's getting out her ideas. Cardi replied, this wasn't photoshopped. You was trending the whole day when you tweeted this, and it was published on a lot of blog outlets. Your right mind sleeps around, and yours sleeps at home with your brother. And that, like, Cardi B went full on homophobic. I got to tell you this. That's the other thing. Another thing I think is important about this. Where's the media to come out and say this is homophobia? Where's the media to be like, yo, Cardi B, you got to chill that stuff. That's not okay. They don't seem to care. It's a double standard. Owen said that Cardi was slandering her brother by tweeting about him allegedly having an affair. I win either way, Owen said. She says, you can get sued. Yes, just spoke with my family. I'm 100% suing Cardi for that nonsense. You can't just start throwing out wild lies against private members of my family because you're upset someone called you out on your degenerate performance. I'll keep y'all posted. So let me talk about this for a second. I'm not a lawyer. Public spats, defamation. It's very, very difficult to win or even get into court in many instances because of something called anti-slap legislation. It means strategic lawsuit against public participation. The idea being that Candace Owens is a public figure and Cardi B is a public figure. And so they're allowed to kind of go at each other. The issue, however, is that Candace Owens' husband and her brother are private figures, not public figures. And Cardi B defamed them. So when it comes to a public figure, you have something called actual malice. And that doesn't mean malintent. It means you had to have known what you were saying was not true. It appears Cardi B genuinely believes that Candace Owens' husband and brother did these things and that Candace said this. But Cardi B in her tweet was saying, your brother did this. Your husband did this. The Photoshop tweet she posted was defamatory and a smear of Candace Owens. And she can argue that I didn't actually know that. But when it comes to a private individual, now things are a little bit different. Cardi B with a massive platform smeared someone who is not a public figure. I wonder where that will actually end up. I got to admit, I really don't think it'll go anywhere. Cardi then argued that she merely shared a tweet that had been widely reported. That doesn't matter. Quote, I'm going to sue Candy for claiming I photoshopped a tweet that dozens of articles reported about in November 2016. First, she claimed me and my team photoshopped it. Now it was a fake tweet. She never said, Candace Owens never said she literally photoshopped it. She said it was a photoshopped image. Now, here we go. I'm sorry, man. I really did think this is something we should talk about. I know. And a lot of people are probably like, Tim, this is stupid. Why do you care? Well, let me show you a tweet from Ben Shapiro. Ben said, last night, Cardi B openly lied about real Candace Owens' family, and when called on it, refused to retract the lie. Virtually the entire establishment media then celebrated Cardi B's supposed bravery in firing back at Candace. Because those who are dedicated to tearing down traditional values are deemed heroes, no matter whether they are actually rather awful. In fact, their awfulness is just the point. Opposing traditional values give you a free pass to be just as awful as you want. I saw that tweet from Ben. And I thought it was a good point. I can certainly point out China is very serious. They're taking very serious action. And just because there's celebrity gossip doesn't mean we also don't take that stuff seriously. We certainly do. But this is what I see with the mainstream with the mainstream media. Real Cardi B is a celebrity. Candace Owens is an outsider. It's the second-class citizen nature that is being a conservative in this country. I love how many on the left will laugh and say they're not second-class citizens. Oh, well, Candace Owens is a black conservative. She is smeared, derided. People throw racist names and accusations against her all the time. They use horrible slurs. The Republicans are accused of being the party of, white males. And then when the RNC actually had black speakers, the left ridiculed and insulted and smeared them. It's some of the most racist trash we see. My biggest criticism, though, always comes from the media, and it's true. Ben Shapiro is absolutely right. When Candace Owens comes out and gives her opinion, which she's entitled to have, and okay. The media's like, get her, Cardi. Not everybody in the media, obviously, but there are many outlets that will take the side of the celebrity. Candace Owens then gets smeared with fake news. And where's every outlet criticizing Cardi B? No, she gets propped up. She gets protected. I think fame and money plays a role in this. And I think many of these companies, they realize, actually, you know what? I think everybody realizes this. I said conservatives there's like a second class citizen thing to being a conservative, right? I can't remember who told me this on the IRL podcast. They were saying that basically you are not able to say the same things. You're not able to protest in the same ways. But let me tell you who really knows this. The former anti-SJW YouTubers who bent the knee, took down their own videos, put out public statements, apologized, and all that stuff. They realized they did not want to be a second-class citizen. They did not want to challenge the establishment narrative. And that's probably the best example. You see, big brands, they want to advertise on the Grammys. $80 to $82 million the Grammys made from this, from the show, from advertisement, even though ratings were in the gutter. I'm sure next year their ad rates will go down, significantly. But advertisers wanted to be on this. Advertisers wanted to be $80 to $82 million to be on Cardi B's performance. And when Cardi B comes out and smears Candace Owens, that's where the money wants to go. So you can look at these big companies and you can see they clearly want to be on the side of the mainstream press. And the mainstream press is absolutely biased in favor of mainstream celebrity. You then look at these anti-SJW YouTubers and their collapse. The algorithm changed. Many of them started seeing their views drop. And what did they do? Oh, they changed their tune real quick. A lot of them did. Some of them disappeared for a little while. Some of them just took down videos. You know how it goes. And it's very obvious the reason they did it. These are people who don't make a ton of money. They had decent followings. They're maybe making $50K a year, maybe 60, maybe more. Maybe some of them are making six figures. And they realized, if I keep criticizing the establishment, I will be a second-class citizen because you'll be the out group, not the in group. I am not suggesting that these people are in any way being treated like marginalized people from yesteryear or anything like that. My family certainly knew what it was like. I'm just saying you're going to get your YouTube channel banned. You're not allowed to speak. You get banned from Twitter. If you say learn to code, they were banning people for saying that. Even though on the left, they were literally calling for people to go and punch Nazis. Now, by all means, nobody likes Nazis. The issue was that they were calling everyone a Nazi. And so when you would say something like, hey, don't be violent, don't start fights, that was actually the out group. What happens? A lot of these people realized where it's safe and where it's dangerous. And if you want to make money and survive, you better toe the line and stop challenging the establishment. Some of these people found a safe niche where they sided with the, progressive faction that tends to support the Democratic establishment tacitly. Oh, they'll complain about the Democrats for sure. But their bigger complaint is with the anti-establishment right and the Trump supporters and things like that. Sure, that's where we go. There's a lot of money to be made if you are a right-wing pundit, conservative Inc. challenging the establishment. Don't get me wrong. But what I find fascinating is this idea that Candace Owens or others would be grifters. If Candace Owens truly wanted to be a grifter, why wouldn't she just push the establishment narrative and be on Cardi B's side? There's so much more money to be made there. She could have said all of the woke things and become one of these personalities and made way more money selling books and all that. Well, Candace has certainly done all right for herself, but that's the exception, not the rule. A lot of people look at Candace and say, see, she's grifting. That's why she made all that money. It's like, I don't think so. I think she put herself at great risk. I got to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Candace Owens. I'm not saying I dislike her. I disagree with her when she talked about getting jail time for burning the American flag. And, I question whether it's an issue of tribalism or principle. But it's fascinating to me there's this idea that right-wing grifters exist. Really? You get banned, you get suspended, you get suppressed, you get no ad revenue, and you want me to believe people are choosing to do that? Sorry, I don't buy it. It's the same argument with any other marginalized group. I don't believe anyone chooses to be in a marginalized group for the most part. I mean, there's some sociopaths, don't get me wrong. But there are many people, talk about grifters, talk about people on the left who toe the Democratic establishment line, even when it is easily provably false. You can Google search things and be like, hey, that's not true. That story from MSNBC is fake news. And that's where we're at. You look at these, the attacks that Steven Crowder goes through, and you look at the mainstream media has, I'll give you an example, actually, NewsGuard, for instance. You look at how they'll say media matters is totally correct. They're green, check mark, good to go. Even though they've put out fake news about me on more than one occasion. And I mean it, like literally fake news. There was one where they were like, this video has been demonetized. And I'm like, my video's still monetized. My podcast was not demonetized. And they won't take it down. They won't update it or retract. There was another instance where they claimed that I made a fake statement about Ilhan Omar when I was literally reading the Star Tribune. Who would choose to be in a position where the media lies about you, your income is threatened, and you could lose everything because you're going against the establishment? Sure, I'm sure some people would just because they're punk rock and they're contrarian, I guess. But the real grifters, they're on the left where it's safe. So take a look at these anti-SJW YouTubers. You don't really hear that phrase anymore, SJW. They used to be more prominent. YouTube took action against them. They panicked. They changed their tunes. And now they're like, oh, I made a mistake. Yeah, we get it. You're pathetic cowards. You didn't have a spine in the first place. You sacrificed your principles for safety. Well, those who would do that deserve neither, right? You'd give up safety for a little bit of freedom. You deserve neither, and you'll lose both. Anyway, I digress. We got a bunch of news coming up about China. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the border crisis. But this was just, I don't know, maybe nobody cared. But I look at this and it makes me think, we've got cultural decay. We can't agree on what's happening. We're fighting and people are choosing tribal sides. And if this is what we're doing while China is building missile silos and we're, having woke military exercises and gender neutral training is getting canceled, I think we're in trouble, my friends. And I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.